And maybe we can talk about that if that becomes an issue.
Okay. Jim, so your question again, I kind of cut you off.
I was just trying to understand if people are concerned about the taxes, if the sale of the 7 lots and the retail would resolve that, so we could get focused back on the apartments, which apartments I think are a good project with an understandable request for a 6-month extension. That's just my opinion. And I guess I wanted to state that and see if there was if it was appropriate to talk about a timeline on the specials, because I can tell there's some concerns about that on the retail. But anyway, that's all I had.
Okay.
Gary, then George.
Okay, this clarified something that I was not understanding previously, that there is no outstanding taxes or specials on the area that would be the apartments. Is that correct?
The property tax bill that I have lists a PIN number and an address, so I couldn't tell you exactly what part those assessments are on. They're on 800 East 53rd Street, note Echo Hills Development.
Yeah, so you have Echo Hills Development, which has the paving, street and water that we have put in. The location for the apartments has no street going back to it, no paving, no nothing. So those lots would not have specials assessed to them at this point because there is nothing back there.
Okay. And the taxes on that land are current. Is that my understanding?
I believe I misspoke. I'm reading this. I'm going to read this verbatim off of my property tax bill from today. There's $144,676 owed in specials, and there's $17,800 owed in general taxes. So my apologies. There is $17,800 due in general taxes.
Okay. And
Which totals $150,000.
I thought you had a new number because the last time I had looked, I had saw that the 2015 taxes, general taxes, were not paid.
Yes, my apologies. Yes,
Okay.
I had grouped it together.
So
it's
that
a-
is the 2015, right?
It is 2015. In 2016, the specials just came on last year.
Okay.
There is a major sewer line that runs north and south across the property near the apartments, and that's probably where this assessment is coming from.
Okay. So the specials are on the, what we call the commercial property as opposed to the apartment residential type property.
It's just one big glob.
That's one, okay, so it's all lumped together now.
Right.
Okay, so there is one big tract, if you will.
Once he sells off 20 acres or so, which I understand he's under contract with, those specials are all, everything is based on square foot. So if he sells off 20 acres, they'll take the specials, divide it by the total number of square feet, and then apply it to those 20 acres. So that development will take a certain portion of all the specials with it.
Correct. But the apartment development
Yeah.
will not assume any of those specials, is that correct?
No, it will take some of the specials.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in actuality, we are talking about specials and taxes on the entire tract. That,
Because-
At this
that does
point.
impact the apartments because it's part of that tract.
Which would now incur more specials when it goes for development and we need to put roads back in there.
Well, I talked to the gentleman from South Carolina, and he says they showed the road going to the apartments that they need on the west side of their deal. And he says, do we have to do specials on that road? And I wanted to walk up and kiss him. No, you don't have to do specials. Well, we don't want to do specials. In fact, any specials on this 20 acres, we want to pay off if we can when we take down the property.
Okay.
Then I went up and hugged him. So if that all happens, that's going to be a good thing, okay? Whatever piece that isn't encompassed within this 20 acres will go to the other outer lots, and when those are sold, those go to those owners. Same way with the apartments. Apartments will get a certain percentage of the overall. How much, I can't tell you until they define specifically the 20 acres these developers are taking versus all the other ownership. I can't tell you exactly. I will tell you that it will have some, and I can't tell you how much.
So while we are, in essence, talking about the property that will have apartments on it, in actuality, when we're talking about taxes, we're talking about the whole tract.
Yes.
Because
Now-
the taxes are applied against the whole tract.
Now, the nice thing about the industrial revenue bonds, there's always a clause in there. And I'd love to do industrial revenue bonds that has specials, because I know those specials are going to get paid. And why I know it's going to get paid? As a condition of the industrial revenue bonds, if they lack paying any property tax or any specials, they lose their tax abatement. Bingo, gone. And that usually is enough incentive to get them to pay their specials and their property tax. And believe me, I know a couple of businesses that got a little lax and didn't make their payment right away, and we said, we're going to pull your, they walked down to the county and paid it that day.
Okay.
So they do not want to lose the tax abatement. So the tax abatement is a big hammer on this deal.
So while we're talking about the taxes and specials that are owed at this point, okay, then I guess the question comes back to, at what point, Mr. Lovin, do you feel that you can bring those taxes and specials to current? Because that is the blank that we're seeing before us that requires a date for us to put that in there. And at this point, we need to understand that a date that you have based on all the information that you have from both the apartments and from the commercial things that you're working on will allow you to bring those taxes and specials to current by a date certain. That's the deal. That's the section of this resolution that we are dealing with right now.
On the, two events will take place. One will be a closing to start the apartments, and the other, a separate one I'm in hopes of, is the Colette properties. And the Colette properties will be able to cover everything, pay the taxes on all the properties. And the apartments will happen to be February 22nd or whatever that date would be, 6 months out from if they're approved to extend it today.
I guess what I'm asking for
So between
is-
now and that date is when we'd want to bring the taxes current
But tonight,
on.
we need a date that you feel comfortable that you can put down on this document, that you can bring all the taxes on that tract and specials on that tract to current. So that regardless of where you get the funds, whether it comes from Colette or whether it comes from a closing of a loan on the apartments, you feel comfortable that you can pay the back taxes and specials on that tract in total by a particular date, and that's the date we're looking for.
Well, I'd go with the 6 months from right now. So, and even if I don't have the Colette closing, I'll just have to figure out how to get the balance of it done too.
I guess I'm I'm a little uncomfortable with that because that kind of leaves the whole thing open-ended to where, we'll be back at February 22nd looking at another extension, because basically only thing that will change between now and then is another set of taxes and specials will have been due by that point. And that, I guess, is something that this council has to weigh in terms of how long do we extend and allow these back specials and taxes to accumulate.
Jack, sorry.
Well, if you look at it this way, let's say February the 22nd, he doesn't pay his taxes. City hasn't lost anything, right? No skin off our backs. He don't get his project. The only thing we lose is the apartments. we still have to pay the back taxes, like we'd always would have to pay the back taxes, whether he pays it or not. So at this particular junction, by going ahead and saying, okay, we're going to extend you to February 22nd, you better have the taxes paid, or this is going to be the end game. We're not going to extend it any further. Because the way I see it is, if you don't give him this extension, there's no incentive of him to pay the money he needs to pay to HUD to move the
I
project
understand that.
forward. So there's really no skin off of our back, so to speak, by going ahead and approving this. It's going to mean more to him, because come February the 22nd, if he has it, there may never be another extension period.
Right.
And every dollar he invested in this is going to go down the tubes.
One of the concern of I just want to clarify this for everybody. The specials that are tied to the development at this point are not general obligation bonds to the city, correct?
They are.
They are. So in other words, the
They're
city,
GO bonds, right?
I don't,
Yeah, they're GO bonds, yes,
they are GO bonds.
right.
Okay, so the
We
GO
pay them one
bonds,
way or the other.
the GO bonds are going to be a liability to the city in any event. Is that what you're saying?
Well, if he don't get his project, and like I say, if he has IRBs, I will assure you pretty comfortable that he's going to pay those.
Understand?
If he doesn't get his project, then he has nothing, I don't know, any income, so to speak, to pay those specials.
Okay, so the current development, the roads that have been put in, all the other utilities are all under GO bonds.
Correct. But a lot of that
liability.
will be paid for if he sells the 20 acres.
I understand.
Yeah,
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
yeah.
John, you want to call on who's next?
George.
I think I ought to clarify where I'm coming from. You know, for 6 or 7 years, we've been promised this and that. The citizens out there, they watch what's going on. And every year, they keep expecting this to happen. And in this last several years, this hasn't happened. Baseball Academy, the people were promised hadn't happened. And I've had people ask me if we really know what the hell we're doing. And sometimes I do too. But I'm not going any further with this. That's just my personal feelings. You know, I'm getting tired of being ridiculed by people out there saying, you know, you guys just keep doing this and doing this. And it's true, we do.
Is somebody else next? All right, so I want to jump on that real quick. I believe that the city of Park City does not slow any business down from coming in and building here. We are not a barricade, we are not a hurdle, and we always go out of our way to get people to bring things in. And we've done that for you for 7 years. We've gone out of our way, we've gotten you everything you wanted. What gets me is we do things for developers, and here in 08, we had developers walk away from their properties. In the city, we got stuck with that burden. You know, we went out, we purchased those developments, and now we've unloaded them all, and we have another one we need to talk about tonight. But what we have done recently is we do deals with people that are current on their taxes. Builders that are current on their taxes, we do incentives with so they can sell homes. We don't do it with ones that are behind on their taxes. So Jim brings up a good point that, you know, the state of Kansas and your archaeological survey has put you behind and put you in this position. But this has gone on for a long time. And where were you giving us updates on the progress of that instead of waiting until 30 days out of today to get in touch and let us know what's going on? I haven't heard from you. I didn't know anything about your surveys and stuff that was going on in January and May. still waiting on it in June. I heard about it probably a month ago, 3 weeks ago, when you needed this extension. That's what I'm upset about,
You want me to respond to that?
if you want.
Well, like I said, there's nobody that wants to get this project done worse than me. And I haven't folded my tent. I mean, I've worked hard on it. I mean, if you knew the time and effort, and there's a lot of smaller users that want to come, but they want to have an anchor. You know, there's a development down at 47th and I-135. Great location, right next to Turnpike Booth. And they came online about the same time as we did. In fact, they were a little bit of a competitor. And they've been trying to get their anchor down there too. Now they've got Arby's, Verizon who we're talking to, IHOP who we've been talking to, and they haven't been able to get their anchor down there. And there isn't anywhere in Wichita that you can see an anchor that's come in since the economy tanked. And that's one of the reasons these retailers, if you follow the retail, in 2014 when the outlet mall came to us, retail stocks were still up doing pretty well. And since 2014, if you pull up retail stocks, you'll see that they've gone like this. And Amazon's been part of the reason, and the internet, and all that's been going backwards. And these guys came in, spent $250,000, hired a guy specifically for the project, tried to get that outlet mall started. So we've been working on all this, all that time. And in January, you know, I can't wait to get this thing started. And I'm thinking I'm going to get under construction in June. And the archaeological study came in, and if that study would have been done in March, like it was supposed to have been done, then I wouldn't be up here in front of you guys, and then we would have hurried and got our plans done, and we still would have got under construction, hopefully before, or by this date. But that archaeological study did not get done, and those guys put me behind the 8 ball. Now, I've got the city council to talk to. I've also got lenders, I've got investors, I've got the engineering firms, the architects, HUD, I got all these different groups, and I have to figure out the answers to all these things too. And I want to make this thing go, and then I was working with the outlet mall, trying to get those. I mean, I thought they were going to close in March, and then they went to the outlet show in May, and so I had to see what was going to happen in May. I mean, we might have had our outlet mall going if they'd had a successful show in May. So I had all those different things, and I don't know all the answers. Well, I finally got the study done. The outlet mall's not coming. Colette's wants to come, and then I had to raise funds to get studies done, and I mean it hadn't been fun. But I didn't give up on it, and I've been working as hard as I could to make this thing happen. And this is going to be a great project. There isn't anything out front to stop the apartments once I can get the extension on the economic development bond. And I guess that's all I can do.
Okay.
So,
I mean, just for me, the biggest part is the back taxes, and that's got to be handled before we do any type of deal on the apartment complexes. I understand too, as a developer or somebody that's trying to sell something, you can't make businesses come that don't want to. And I get that. I would support 6 more months to give you this last ditch effort. But I want you to feel what we feel. And I don't want to be let down again and comes February 22nd, if that would get approved.
Jim? I just wanted to make sure everybody's considering here, you know, what would be involved if you started over. If the apartments, let's just be devil's advocate, I don't know if that's the right word, but if we didn't approve this, you know, the apartments come to an end, the apartment project would then, I would assume, come to an end, at least in this form. And then, you know, he's quite a ways down the road. And you need to factor in that does push the development, the potential development out further. So to me, it comes down to, can you get it done or not? And that's the question. I'm concerned like everybody else about the taxes, but there's a bigger issue here, whether we can whether starting over is the right thing to do. That's all I would say.
Starting over, it's a bad deal. Sets us back further than where we are right now. Apartments in the city would be huge.
Yeah.
It's something we need here. It's a housing that we don't have in town that would benefit us greatly. And I feel like I understand the hiccups that you had, but at this point, I feel like the responsibility of getting the apartment coming directly falls on your back. And, I was driving down 135 today on towards Newton, probably southeast 24th Street, and they're building apartments right now. They started working on them probably within the last 45 days doing dirt. They got 2 structures wrecked, and they're putting windows and doing siding and shingles right now. That's where I want to see us with these apartments. I do think once we get something to bust loose, the rest of it will come much easier. Arby's is going to be a benefit. That is going to help, but that's going to be a slow thing. I think the apartments would be key for us to see growth in the community and also bring other retailers in this area because they have more people to serve the community.
Melvin?
You say 6 months from now, do you have the plans drawn up for all these apartments and everything? And
He just touched on that they've
that's
been
going
working.
through the HUD too. You say it's going to get, it may go or may not go in?
No, we're looking at like 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks max to get the studies complete. You have the package that we're going to submit architecturally that's required by HUD. They have up to 60 days, usually less than that, then to send a letter that it's a done deal, basically. Then we have to complete the drawings at that time. I mean, economically, it doesn't make sense for Mike to commit for us to finish the drawings because it's a pretty big number with all the engineering. Like I said, we've allowed in that schedule 60 days. We think we can be done 45 days. Then we submit those, and then the project can close after the construction costs are finalized. One thing I meant to bring up, and I didn't, over the years, I've probably done 30 or 40 projects in which HUD's been involved. And the bad news is they're really a pain to work with. The good news is, in this case, what they've started requiring is probably the highest energy standards of any project we've done. We've done 3 pretty good sized projects here in Wichita in this size range, one on Mays Road, one in Andover, one on K96 in the last couple of years. This project will have a much, much higher level of quality in terms of energy conservation, the quality of the materials that are used, and that's a requirement of HUD. They make us adhere to basically the equivalent of the International Energy Code, which the state of Kansas has never adopted. Most states have, but Kansas doesn't. Well, HUD still makes us follow that energy code. So what it makes us do is have a much higher insulation quality in both the ceiling cavities, the walls, the floors, the foundation walls, incredibly highly efficient HVAC systems, heating and cooling. Water heaters are a big issue. We'll use all LED lighting, again, for efficiency and electrical usage. Appliances will all be Energy Star rated appliances, so they'll be low energy consumption. That really is, there's a lot of other issues that are involved in it, but that's really a huge benefit for this project over the others that we've done, which probably are maybe in more high profile locations, but don't have that level of quality in terms of the what the project will really mean for the people that are going to live there. And one of their conditions is we have to hire an energy consultant that verifies that we meet these standards, and we have to work with that. We've selected the consultant we want to work with. We got 3 proposals. Unfortunately, there was no one close to Wichita, but they will monitor our drawings while we're completing our drawings. They will be involved in reviewing the construction during construction. And this includes all the buildings, whether it's the clubhouse or the apartments, or even to a certain level, it'll include the garages as far as electrical usage. And then they monitor that ongoing in terms that it maintains that level of efficiency. So it's really like I said, HUD is not necessarily fun to deal with, but it's a benefit to the community, and especially to the residents that'll be in this project.
With all that being said there, you think you can get it done in 6 months? Shove through the HUD and all that, the plans?
Yeah, we can get, like I said, I don't want to tell Mike this, but we're farther along than the drawings than what those drawings show.
So do you see any more opticals here? I mean,
I don't know what they would be. I really don't. Like I said, we've done 30 or 40 HUD projects. This is absolutely the first time I've ever seen one where we had to do an have an archaeological study done. I've never seen it happen on a project before, and it kind of came out of the blue. So that's a schedule killer.
so once you break ground, how long?
How long construction?
Yeah.
Well, I think it ought to be done in about 11 or 12 months, but I imagine it'll be probably 14 months, 13 or 14 months.
So we're talking 2 years before.
We'll have some units open before that.
Yeah, they'll have phased opening. Typically, what you want to have happen, and this won't be any exception, is you want to get the clubhouse open, and you want to get the buildings that are adjacent to the clubhouse, so that can be completed, and we've laid the project out such that there's an entry and allows that to happen, and for the rest of the construction traffic not to have to come through the completed part. And then they'll just keep moving out from that point, so buildings will continue to open as the project's moving on. So when it's actually complete, say at the end of 13 or 14 months, you're really down to 2 or 3 buildings that you're waiting to get completed.
So phase 1 would be done in a year and a half?
The first buildings would probably be done in 6 months. At the clubhouse and in the first couple of buildings, the target's usually 6 to 7 months, and hopefully we always try to shoot for 6 months.
Okay. Thank you.
I had a few questions I was wanting to ask of you, Mike. Are any of these subsidized?
No.
Okay. What is the overall expense of the project?
It'll be, and it depends on what the final construction number comes in at, but it'll be, it's about a $28 million project.
Okay. And there's 232 units in the entire project?
Correct.
Okay. All right. And I guess I just want to pass on. And the last time this came to us, I voted against it. And my fundamental theory, I do not agree with 100% abatements on these type of projects, to where we've done this for so many years, and I feel like, especially in something like this where you're bringing in residents, that these residents are going to require municipal services from the police. There's going to be kids going to schools, fire services, EMS. I mean, these different services that we have to provide, snow removal and things like that, that actually cost taxpayers of the city, that we will also have to provide to these folks as well, and the taxes will be completely abated. And for that reason is why I would oppose 100% abatement on it. So anyway, I just want to pass that along. Gary's next.
I guess you've heard some of our concerns, and I think, some of that goes back to something that the mayor pointed to, that, while these things were going on, while the setbacks were happening, until very recently, we had no knowledge as a council that any of these things were a problem. We look like we have a clear path to, as far as the apartments go, and I'm just talking about the apartments now, clear path to be able to get this project underway. That doesn't mean there's not going to be any potential delays, but I think one thing that would be very, very helpful to this council and to the residents of the city would be if we could have some more frequent updates as to the progress on the timeline, so that we have an understanding that the timeline is going to be met, or maybe even exceeded, I think that would go a long ways toward helping us answer questions from our citizens as to the status of the project. Because I think that's the question that we as councilmen get the most, is we got a big piece of property over there that they keep saying they're going to do something with it. And what's the status? And we say, don't know. Okay? It would be very helpful if we could say, yes, it's on track, it's on target, and, you know, this is what it looks like right now. I think that helps us to answer to the citizens.
Okay. Through an email, is that what?
I'll defer to the mayor on that.
I would have a recommendation for the council that we would approve the 6-month extension contingent upon the taxes being brought current before ground break on the apartments. And if by February 22nd, taxes are not brought current, that we notify you we're going to pull the letter of credit and bring the taxes current. How would you feel about that?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, Tom.
Well, one of the things I was going to bring up, and Gary's touched on it a little bit, was that either Mr. Loveland or somebody representing Mr. Loveland come to the second council meeting in October and the second council member in December gives us an update.
Actually, I want to add to that. I would like to see the last meeting of every month for the next 6 months. You show up and something and let us know what's going on. Doesn't have to be a 30-minute presentation, it can be 10, 15 minutes, but I want monthly updates too as part of that plan.
And that'd be fine with me.
Unfortunately, that is not
Yeah, happy to do it.
Guess the phone didn't like that.
Now we know what Siri thinks.
Okay. I mean, I was looking at the first 30 days is going to be kind of submitting stuff, but that's okay. I can go that way.
That letter of invitation, I mean, if we started it at the end of October, that would probably be I should have the letter of invitation by then. In the interim,
But you can provide updates on that you got your updated plans back and you got everything current that you needed to. You'd be able to come back
That's
and
fine.
bring that to us.
That's fine.
By then, you may know a little bit about the Colette property thing too.
Okay.
Jim?
I was just going to say, I kind of like that. That's a nice compromise. I hadn't thought of that, what you came up with there. And I hear everybody's points, but I kind of generally want to continue to see this thing move along.
One other quick comment. Jeff was talking about the environmental or the energy saving that we're going to have on the project. When we met with HUD, they suggested to us, and they said, you know, here's one of our new standards, and gosh, if you guys would, well, anyway, I think by us doing that just elevated the prospects for the project in their eyes, and they're excited about us being the first project like that in the South Central Kansas. So that's playing in our favor too. So I just want to throw that in.
I would come back to the council. We have been vested another 6 months with the guarantee of bringing the taxes current on the Echo Hills LLC properties there. Also giving us monthly updates, and then if groundwork has not begun on the 22nd when they expire, we pull the letter of credit and we bring the taxes current. Jack?
One of the things that the owner of Corlett talked to me a little bit about today, that one of the things that drew him to the site was the fact of the apartments. And they see the apartments also be a generator because they're going to have some box store. They wouldn't say exactly who it is or what it is, but they got one ready to go in. They do this deal, but then they have all these other lots that they're going to have to bring other businesses in, and they see the fact that when you have, if you figure at least 2 people per apartment, that's 400 and 30-odd people sitting right at your doorstep that could buy services from you. And they see that as a very positive thing for their development, as to helping them get other restaurants and other type of commercial facilities there. You know, let's hope that they all take Cablevision and stuff, so we can get those franchise fees.
I think everybody would agree with that. I don't think anybody does. But I think where the problem comes is to try to play to fear, or that if you don't do this, this won't come. Right now, we should be chasing after the apartments. If we went to 6 months, so that's what we're doing. We're chasing for that. Anything that results because of that is just gravy on the biscuit. And that's what we're looking for. But I don't think what we should do is being looked at this like getting strong-armed to where you don't have to. We need to think about where we're at, what the apartments can do for the community, and we need to hold some accountability here. And I think we have a plan set in place where we can do that within the next 6 months, and we fall back on pulling the letter of credit and bringing the taxes current at that time.
Here.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to accept this resolution with the stipulation that the taxes are and special assessments are current by February 22nd. And if not, that the letter of credit will be pulled to make them current. That cover everything?
And monthly updates.
And monthly updates from now through February 22nd. At the final, the fourth Tuesday council meeting of the month.
Second.
Second.
Okay, and I want to go real quick. I want to go back to Daniela and Doug to see if we need to do anything different with that motion.
My question was whether or not that would be an amendment to the motion, to the item on the agenda, or if that would be included as an amendment to the resolution. I was going to ask Doug.
Doug.
I need to redo the resolution, but I can tell you that it will read the way the motion has been made, and I'm going to restate that just to make it real clear. So we would not need anything more. We could then go ahead and adopt it. It would be effective, adopted today. That would meet the requirements of getting it done before midnight. What you have in front of you talks about special assessments for the project. I haven't brought this up, but I'm assuming that somewhere at HUD there's a description of what this project is as far as a legal description of the real estate. That's what I intended, but my understanding is that your motion is broader than that.
Correct.
And you wish that all of the specials and general taxes for the PIN number and the address that Daniela referenced earlier, that currently is about $160,000, that be paid together with, if I heard your motion, any general taxes or assessments that get levied against the property on December 20th of this year, that those get paid in full by February 22nd, 2018 or earlier.
Correct.
And then I can write in there the other conditions about the monthly update at the fourth Tuesday meeting of every month commencing in September. And then the provision about the letter of credit if
all those are failed to be paid.
If they're not paid.
That'll do it.
Okay, I saw a couple of hands, which was George, Melvin, Tom, and George. So George.
Yeah, for me, Mr. Levin, it's about accountability. It's about following through with plans that you've had, we've been told about. And for me, it's about letting us know what's going on. And that's been a big thing for me is send us an email once a month. Come to the council meeting. Let us know, hey, this is what we're doing now. this didn't happen, but we're trying to do that. So for me, it's about keeping us in touch, and I wasn't seeing a lot of that. So for me, it's holding you accountable when you say you're going to do something, that you do it, and us holding you accountable to it and telling you what we're going to do if you don't. So I'm okay with that as long as we hold you accountable, because like I said, we've been hearing things forever, what's going to happen, and the citizens want to know. So I guess what I'm saying is follow through with what you say you're going to do. Thank you.
Okay.
Melvin?
I didn't know if we need to attach some kind of penalty if it's not done by the 22nd, or just pulling the line of credit would be good enough.
I think that's more than sufficient.
Okay. And these will be branded as Park City, not Wichita, right?
Absolutely. It's part of our IRB rules.
Okay.
Tom?
I was going to second it, but I agree with Melvin on addressing. I think the whole site ought to be listed as Park City. I find the sign that's up there now, the Outlet Malls of Wichita, are located in Park City, is
Yeah,
offensive.
That probably needs to come down.
So anyway,
Since that's
but
gone.
that's not Mr.
Let me make a
Loveland's doing.
note.
George?
My inclination was to vote no on this and oppose it because I hope I'm wrong, but the mayor I think has tied you down where you're going to have to put up or else. I believe he's got that down, and therefore I'll go ahead and support it under those conditions.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'm not seeing any further discussion. Daniela, would you call the roll?
John Leonard,
Nay.
George Glover,
Aye.
Gary Aldrich,
Aye.
Melvin Kerr,
Aye.
Tom Jones,
Aye.
George Capps,
Aye.
Joel Pumphrey,
Aye.
Jim Schrader.
Aye. That resolution passes 7-1.
That is Resolution 967-2017.
All right, we'll
Thank
see
you
you in a
very
month.
much. See you in a month.
Okay, that will bring us to our next item on the agenda, item F, which is consider the donation of the 80 acres. Jack?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This particular property is in arrears of special assessments. It's getting ready to go to a tax sale. So there's a couple of options. It's been offered to us. If we don't take it, we'll go to the tax sale, and many people might buy it. You know, it could be one, or it could be 30 people buying different lots or whatever. Some of the experience in these tax sales are people will buy them cheap, and they still won't pay the specials. And so you go another 3 or 4 years, and then it goes back on sale again. Zonkers Edition, this is a piece of property which used to be called Boys Island. I don't know if any of you have been around here long enough to know Boys Island or whatever. That particular property went to tax sale, and dozens and dozens of different people bought lots for $50 or whatever. If it hadn't been for Tim Hendricks coming in and working with John Todd, getting a lot here and a lot there and whatever, it took years to make a full development, or we would end up with spotty houses all over the place. That's one option we have. Just let it go and let it, whoever buys it, buy it. Or we could go in, pay some money to get the lots. We never know what the bid will go up to or whatever. We've got lots for $3,000. We got lots for $2,000 or $4,000 per lot. This way, if it's given to us, we don't have to pay the special fee. Now, we would have to make up the last year's specials, okay? But who is those specials owed to? It's owed to us. The money that's owed is owed to us. So if we paid the last year's specials, that money goes to the county, then the county turns around and writes us a check back equal to that amount that we paid. because these are specials that we had already paid in their back specials. So in essence, we're not really paying that much for it. Also, we have an asset in our hands. The people of Park City have ownership of 80 acres. If we let it go to tax sale, all we have is the debt and we have no asset. So it has been offered to us to turn the land over to us, but it takes your vote to accept that or not.
So I think what we need to do is talk about things more recently that we've done with Saddlebrook, Bear Hill, where Jack and I got to go to the auction and bid on those, which we were lucky enough in both of those auctions to get each lot at a fairly cheap rate and be able to pick up all of those. This would keep us from having to go back and doing that same thing again if the council would choose to go after the property. One of the reasons why, once again, why we did that the last time was because of having the asset. It's in the rears. We're gonna have to write a check. That check's gonna come back to us. We're gonna have an asset. Plus, there's another problem with the property, with the way some of the specials were levied against the properties, that potentially I think we could put back into a land bank and reassess those to make it more equal. Because some of those lots are just crazy on one lot and the other lot's different. And if we went back and did that in a land bank, and Doug, if I'm wrong, just tell me. If we can go back and put that into a land bank, we'd be able to reassess that and make those specials more evenly spread across the properties. Something else that the council might want to do too is we could go back and make those and maybe replat that and do 2 or 3 acre lots or 5 acre lots. And have some more expensive housing that we can put on. We've seen Lakewood Estates and what it's been doing. There's a market for that right now. I think the worst thing that we're looking at is we just got out of the land business and we're walking right back into it again. And that's the discouraging part. But I do think this is something we should go ahead and accept it. It keeps it clean. We make sure we get it all, and then we can go back and land bank it and then reallocate those specials so it's more evenly spread against those lots, and then we can make a future decision. And those lots are not lots that we would have to mow or maintain that we've currently done, and some of the others we wouldn't have to do anything. It's just open land right now. So I think this is something the council should go ahead and let Jack and I accept this offer and take over the 80 acres. Gary?
For those who may not have been on the council, or for people that are new to Park City, kind of want to present a little bit of history. 8 years ago, we had 4 developments that, when the housing market went down, the developers had already quit paying taxes and specials. And at that point in time, we were losing about $750,000 in arrears on those. That put a very big burden on the city. And at that point in time, I know that we looked at, what should we do? We already have a liability, as the mayor said, and which is better, to have an asset or just a liability? And at that time, a lot of people said, well, we don't want to be in the real estate business. When we sign up for general obligation bonds for specials, we are in the real estate business, because it's a city obligation to the general obligation of the city to pay those, whether we get paid or whether the person that owns that property pays them or not. And I think that we did the best we could under the situation back in 8 years ago by going to the tax sale and by going to the auction, even though we had to upfront money at the auction to purchase these lots. Then we were able to make a very good deal for homeowners to purchase and build on those lots. And we've seen as a result of that, that the developments have prospered and that the city has more than recouped anything that we have spent on that. This proposal tonight that would basically donate this land to us, and yes, we will have to pay the back specials, but it's basically writing the county a check, which we get back from the county. So in the essence, we're paying ourselves back for what we've already paid on those general obligation bonds. So I think this is a very good deal. I wish we had this deal 8 years ago, but unfortunately we didn't have somebody that wanted to donate the lots to us. Tonight we have that opportunity, and I hope we take advantage of it.
Jim?
We got a lot of fancy screens around here. Can we have a map? Where is this at again, if we don't have a map?
We don't have a map of this.
Describe it to me again. What land are we talking about?
Okay, it's south of 69th. This is High Ridge, a portion of High Ridge.
Portion of High Ridge, south of
Okay.
69th, all right.
Okay. It runs from 69th Street to Cambridge Valley. That's Tim Hendricks's development. From Grove to Hillside.
Okay, I got my Google Maps up here on my deal. Talking about up in here. Just for the record, that would be really helpful anytime we have land stuff up.
Yeah, this was something we added to the agenda tonight, so there's no supporting documentation of that.
It's what it is 80 acres.
Okay, no streets in other than the
It's all
69th
platted.
and Hillside.
Jim, it's all platted. You could go with the way it's platted. I think the mayor's correct. We probably look at a land bank so we can respread some of the specials. Some lots have $735 a year specials. Some have 32, some have 0. That kind of hurts selling those lots that have the higher ones and stuff. So if you can respread them to an equal basis, I think you might be money ahead. And even looking at replatting to 2-acre lots or whatever also.
Okay, now, that's helpful. I really like the idea. I mean, we just got out of the other deals. We eliminated our risk on those. Don't really want to be in the real estate business per se, but there's a time when it's appropriate, and this is careful and thought through, and there's not a lot of liability that we don't, at least that we don't already understand on this. So I kind of like the idea.
Okay, Doug?
I have a suggestion how to make this go smoothly based on the conversation. It appears council would likely to accept this. I think that would be appropriate for you to make a motion and vote on that tonight, but I would suggest that we could then get a deed from the appropriate owner to the city and present that on the next agenda and have you accept that formally at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Anybody else?
One last question.
Go ahead.
Is this, I'm thinking about this a little bit more on our annexation. Is it already annexed?
Correct.
Yeah, it's in our city.
Okay.
We already ran a water line along the north edge of this property, and that's part of the assessments to the property. We ran water from hydraulic all the way to Hillside and then up Hillside a little ways. And so some of this property has some of those water assessments on it.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Gary?
I'll make a motion that we instruct staff to pursue the acceptance of the 80 acres in question and whatever documents need to be fulfilled to bring us to the next meeting.
Jim?
And I would second that.
I would just ask that we not restrict us to the next meeting in case it takes us longer to meet with the partners.
Whenever
get
they're
that.
available.
But as soon as we could get that deed.
Another thing too, I think Doug knows the attorney that works for the county that does, who's the attorney that does the lot, the sale? He's Kansas Paving's attorney. Okay. Yeah, we might need to notify him that we're going to let Jay Russell know that
Well,
this, and because if we don't,
right, we just need, to, but that's not that is not something that we need to take council action on. We're getting the approval from the council for us to handle the business that we need to take care of it.
but we need to let him know that this is in the works, otherwise it could go to the
And you
tax.
can do
sale.
that
Yes.
completely on your own.
Okay.
Got it?
Well, you approve it, it's a matter of letting them know that the council has approved it.
Absolutely.
So, no problem.
Okay.
Just don't want it to go to tax sale and then ruin everything, because it is in the process right now.
Right. There's a motion and a second. Not seeing any further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes 8-0. The next item on the agenda is just governing body remarks. I just want to say that open house went really well. We had a sign-in sheet. I don't think we can specifically go off of those numbers. Some people didn't sign in, some came in with groups, but I'd say we were probably above 150, below 200. Probably at any point in time, we probably had 30 to 50 people in the building going through some portion of the tour. Staff did a phenomenal job. Our assistant administrator, Dana, is probably putting in an application for park guided tours. She did fantastic. A lot of positive feedback from the citizens that came through. So it was a fun day. It was a long day, but it was a lot of fun. So I want to thank the staff again for all your hard work, everybody coming in, looking sharp and presenting the building well to the citizens. Jim?
I have no remarks tonight.
Joel? No.
I have been wondering about the inventory over there in the old city hall, and I haven't heard anything about it. I'd like to see something. I'd like to see an inventory of what we got in there and what our plans are, what we're going to do with that stuff.
Plans are to put it on Purple Wave and sell everything that we're not going to use. So we're trying to figure out how we need to do that, and if we want to stage that into the council chambers and have them come out and start posting some of that stuff. But for the most part, everything that's usable that we need, we have. There's a lot of stuff, chairs-wise, that we
Maybe
could
I'm
sell
old
and get
school.
rid of.
Maybe I'm old school, but there once was a time when it took council approval to dispose of property.
Well, we haven't done that yet. When you ask for
But-
what the
but that's what
recommend,
I'm asking for. What are we going to do?
when we get to that point that we're ready to do something, it'll be on the agenda.
Okay.
We're not there, but I'm letting you know that's the direction we're heading.
Okay, well, my curiosity's satisfied.
All right. Tom?
Don't have anything tonight.
Mel?
I don't have anything.
Gary?
I'd like to make a suggestion. I know it hasn't happened recently, but in times past, we periodically had a report from Human Resources on, how many employees we have and what positions are open. I don't know that has to happen every council meeting, but periodically that would be a great thing to have, not only for the council, but for citizens who may be interested in making an application for some of those jobs.
I don't know if you've been paying attention, but over the last quarter, I've required every department head to give a report, one report per quarter on their department and what's going on. So you should have seen a better rotation of department heads coming up and giving reports, but there's another one coming. Great. Okay. George?
Yeah, I'd like to let everybody know that our annual Park City Ice Cream Social's coming up September the 9th at Hat McLean Park. So set your calendars from 5 to 7. We have band, ice cream, and also watermelon. So check us out on Facebook. Thank you.
John?
I have nothing tonight. I would make a motion to adjourn.
Or second? I'd second that. All right. We'll give it to Melvin.
I wasn't looking.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes 8-0.